It is well known, the first written records were tallies used to keep track of sales and inventory. Still, it's hard to draw a straight line from those early Sumerian tablets to the big data warehouses of today. It wasn't until the 1640s that datum was even a word, meaning an elemental fact that can be taken as given. It applied to such predictable events as the ebb and flow of the tides, or such repeatable observations as the relationship between how thick a glass lens is and its refractory power. The first use case for alternative data, as we understand it today, might have been weather forecasting. From those days until this day, there's no competitive advantage greater than the ability to predict the weather better than your rivals. The Renaissance brought the invention of thermometers, barometers, and rain gauges. Further improvement came from developments in the processes through which these data could be interpreted. The Renaissance yielded to the Enlightenment, during which thinkers postulated that the morning sun heats the air, which becomes less dense than the cooler air to the west, and that difference in pressure causes wind. Next, as the Industrial Revolution took hold, the ability to communicate the findings moved ever faster and more pervasively, allowing a broader array of people to receive the information and benefit from it. Everyone from farmers to umbrella salesmen could come out ahead. Alternative data is now used by hedge funds to supplement the sources of information they use to evaluate investments and companies. A large part of alternative data comes from the breadcrumbs people leave online. When you know which websites people visit, where they spent the most time, what they bought, what they looked at and declined to buy, what they watched, what they listened to and which influencers they follow, you get a good idea of consumer interest. For investors, it's the anonymous and aggregate data that's important. As those change over time, it becomes clear whether people are poised to buy more big-ticket goods, more staples, or larger homes. This affords the canny analyst with additional resources to determine where the economic cycle is heading and at what velocity. It can also signal which political messages are gaining acceptance, which could suggest what policies might soon be put in place, and whether pharmaceutical companies, defense contractors, or financial services firms will benefit the most. Of course, web scraping isn't the only source of alternative data. Debit and credit card companies as well as payment portals know about almost every retail transaction made. This is often called exhaust data, because it's a byproduct of regular business processes. There's also data generated by sensors. For example, geolocation services can read enough into foot traffic through retail stores that the concept of "I'm just looking" becomes meaningless. And, of course, there's the whole infrastructure that's been built around the sensors used to predict the weather. Just like yesterday's alternative music became today's classics, today's alternative data will soon become tomorrow's standard feed. The challenge for funds is to keep their research analysts current with the latest data that is on the cusp of becoming mainstream. Once it becomes mainstream, of course, knowledge of it becomes table stakes, not a competitive distinction. The alternative data provider's challenge, then, is to continuously discover new relevant data sources that have not yet achieved mass adoption, then introduce them to analysts and portfolio managers who can use them to pursue alpha for their clients. So maybe we shouldn't refer to all this as alternative data. It's innovative. It's overlooked. It's non-obvious. But its nature is to not be alternative for long.